And it's time again for another Cinema Showdown brought to you by Twitchy Dolphin Media, the game show where you pit your favorite movies against each other. And now your host, me, James Christopher. This was no boat accident, and it wasn't any coral reef, and it wasn't Jack the Ripper. It was a shark. And welcome back to the Cinema Showdown, our first Cinema Showdown of 2022. And we are going to be drafting Spielberg films. We've got some great contestants who love the greatest director, I think, to ever do it, Mr. Steven Spielberg. Now, this is your first time watching. Here are the rules, and they're very simple. First of all, we do have 5 contestants for this particular episode. We will be drafting in a serpentine draft, which means the last pick of the first round goes first in the second round, and then we kind of reverse its order. Those of you who've played fantasy football before know what I'm talking about. The other rule is you can only draft one movie from a franchise per team. For example, if someone drafts Jaws, that same person can't draft Jaws the Revenge, which wasn't made by Steven Spielberg. I didn't want to use a real Spielberg example. I just wanted to bring up Jaws the Revenge, which is maybe mathematically one of the 3 or 4 worst movies ever made. But you get the idea. One movie per franchise per player. The other thing is, this is a different kind of draft because, again, Spielberg films, and that means a lot of things. So for the first 6 rounds, we will be doing films that Spielberg directed. Must be a film he directed. But the bonus round, the 7th round, are films that Spielberg produced but did not direct. See, we threw a little bit of a wrench there because we had to acknowledge the fact that Spielberg was sort of like the prince of filmmakers, where he empowered so many other filmmakers to keep making good work that it really did strengthen his overall oeuvre. So those are the rules. Steven Spielberg. Be thinking about what your Steven Spielberg best movie marathon list would be. Now to the draft. And so we are back with our next edition of the Cinema Showdown. And I've got 4 of my favorite people on with us. I'm going to go in, I'm not going to say reverse favorite order. I'm going to say 3 of you are tied for second. And we'll get to my favorite one in a minute. We're going to begin with Carla Rodriguez, who is no stranger to the Screen Jocks podcast, one of our regular contributors, one of my longest friends in the industry. The reason why I know these 2 guys, he's a director, producer, and again, one of the best people I know. Carlo, first of all, how are you?
I'm doing good. I feel really great because I was worried that I'd be the only one without a really snazzy background, but Jessica has my back, and we're a team playing background.
That's right, Carlo. I totally already commented on that too because I can't compete with all these guys.
Yeah, and I tried to save it, and you came and ruined it.
Yeah. Joining us again after our Christmas movie draft, Mike Donis. Mike, thanks for coming back.
Good to be back.
And then joining us again from the Christmas movie draft. Now, Gary, I have to ask about the outfit. Gary C. Warren is here, TV producer. I should also point out that Mike is a freelance editor and had a bunch of Christmas movies on. How was that to be driving the Christmas? It
was actually pretty cool because my family was just like, let's watch some Christmas movies. And I was like, I did that one. I did that one. And it was actually kind of fun. So that was neat.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So Gary, talk about this. I think I have an idea. But tell me about the shirt.
So the shirt, it's a Mickey Mouse Hawaiian shirt. I didn't have any Spielberg specific Hawaiian shirts, but I remember this picture of Spielberg wearing a crop top Mickey Mouse t-shirt when they were doing Jaws. So in honor of his t-shirt, I have Mickey Mouse on mine.
I thought it was a Truffle Shuffle reference, honestly.
Could have been that too.
Could have been that too. And my favorite person on the planet, the person whose eyes I want to swim in, my wife, Jessica. How are you, babe?
Doing great, thank you. I'm a little nervous. First time on the show, doing this type of Cinema Showdown.
Yeah, you're kind of the most popular part of Let's Get To, so you're no stranger to that. Now, speaking of, because Gary and I are of similar minds.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I was asking about a Jurassic Park t-shirt. I can't believe you don't have one that I could borrow.
don't.
It's disappointing.
You don't?
Isn't that disappointing?
Oh. How is that actually surprising? It's not even disappointing. I just like how you have like 7 million T-shirts and one of them isn't Jurassic Park.
If I had to guess, I would say that you don't see a lot of clever ones. Like you see a lot of like the Jurassic Park logo or something.
Yeah.
I know Jim and me and a lot of us, we like these shirts that it takes a second look to be like, oh,
yeah.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
We're fans.
And my Schindler's List T-shirt's dirty, so I didn't wear that. That was a movie ripe for marketing. So we are doing our Spielberg Showdown. Let me go through the randomized draft order for the first 6 rounds. I will have the first pick. Mike Donis will go second. Gary C. Warren third. And Jess will go fourth. And Carla will go fifth. And that's for the odd rounds. For the even rounds, Carla will go first. Jess second. Gary third. Mike fourth. And me last. So any questions before we start? So I do have the first pick.
I wonder.
I can say this with all honesty.
Randomized. Yeah.
You all know me. You know which movie I'm picking. I'll pick this shark movie for you, and it ain't going to be easy. Actually, it is. I have the first pick. I'm going to take Jaws for the very first pick in this draft. And first of all, Mike, the advantage is not the person who picks first in this thing, because now I don't pick for like 10 more picks.
Right.
That's true. Yeah.
Like,
No, you're absolutely right.
All that's left is always. So,
let's go. Mike Donis, you're up.
All right. Well, my pick is probably going to be pretty obvious. Anyone who knows me, I'm going to go with Raiders of the Lost Ark.
You suck.
I have my spreadsheet up. I don't know who said who sucked. I thought it was either Gary or Carlo or both of you at the same time.
It was Carlo.
I was thinking it, but I think Carlo said it based on his team name.
Gary C. Warren.
So it's funny, I kind of made my notes of the order of movies that I would personally take, and Jaws was number 1, and Raiders was number 2. So then I went with number 3, which based on my team name is Jurassic Park.
Okay, perfect. Great pick. You and I had the same 1 and 2. We had a different 3, which I will not let you know what that is because that's dumb.
Right.
Jess, you are up.
All right. So I already told Jim, to me, the thing that's the hardest about this Spielberg pick is so many of his films are like really weighty and heavy. And this is the films that people are going to want to watch, but I can't help it. I have to put Saving Private Ryan in, even though it's kind of hard for people to watch. It's a really great war film and it's a great movie in general.
That's such a good pick. And it's probably my favorite war movie of all time. So,
I just hope people want to watch it. I know it's a little heavier than the fun ones like Jaws and Jurassic Park, but
I think hopefully the audience of this show, those are going to be like people in their 40s who are going to want to connect with that one. Carlo, you're up with 2 picks back to back. So you get to pick 1 pick and then another pick.
Okay. Well, my first pick, I kind of have a thing with Spielberg where I feel like he gets a bad rap where people don't take him seriously as a filmmaker. So my first pick is the first film I said where, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to point to that. Steven Spielberg's a real filmmaker, not just a crowd pleaser. And that is Empire in the Sun.
Man, what a good, bold pick. Young Batman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sympathizing with the Japanese for a minute, right? Like
it always rings in my ears. You have to do what I say.
No, it's a great movie. Jessica, have you seen it?
I haven't. So I will be honest with you. It's very low on my list because I know it's a good movie, but I've never seen it.
All right, well, we'll fix that. Carlo, you have another one.
Okay, so I am going to go with a movie that I found to be seminal, and I'm going to go with Close Encounters.
Ooh. My board is like shot to hail. I might get Always by the time it gets back. And I like Always.
Fingers crossed, Jim. Fingers crossed.
Smoke gets in your eyes, that gets you. You know? John Goodman.
Yeah, Spielberg made his mark with sci-fi films on that one, and that's my pick.
Yeah. Okay, Jessica.
Well, I knew I'd at least get 1 Indiana movie, so I'm going to go with The Last Crusade.
I actually honestly was debating picking that instead of Raiders. I like Last Crusade. In some ways, I might watch it more often than I actually watch Raiders. I love Last Crusade. So.
Yeah, I kind of feel, and I'd love to also hear Carlo and Gary on that, because I kind of feel that they are kind of equally quality movies, and it really just sort of depends on the mood.
Yeah.
Gary, you have a thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, Raiders has an extra nostalgia level. So I think for that alone, Raiders was like one of those blow you away as a little kid movies. But yeah, I mean, Last Crusade possibly is more entertaining based on the relationship with his father. So you can't go wrong with either one of those.
Yeah, Carlo?
Yeah, I mean, well, I got to go with Raiders by a mile, not because I dislike Last Crusade, because I just feel like Raiders is such an important film because of when it came out, when it was made, and how it, like, if you think about it, no action adventure movie of that type was a blockbuster hit or was a major hit, because at that time in the mid 70s, I was stationed in Germany, and we were getting the very last gasp of the serial films that were played before a movie in the theaters out there near the military base. So even though they pretty much had died out in the States, we were still getting them.
Okay.
So I got to see those cliffhanger serials before a feature film, and then Raiders came out, and everyone disrespected them because they were cheesy, they were low budget, and Raiders just changed the conversation and came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I just, to this day, that movie has a special importance to me. But Last Crusade's great.
What's funny about Raiders, I have a very young Jim going to be a filmmaker someday moment. The first time the whole pull the gun on the sword fight scene happened, that was life-changing for me, because it was oh, this also has a sense of humor to it that you didn't always see. So,
but
Gary,
on that, why that was so important is, and I think we could all agree, Harrison Ford's performance. But here's the thing that I don't think, because Harrison Ford's considered one of the great action stars of the last few decades, right?
Yeah.
But Indiana Jones got his ass kicked a lot in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And he wasn't a superhero that would later become the staple of the 80s, right? I mean, he was always like, all right, let me catch my breath. They can go back and kick him out.
He's totally capable, but always one step away from actually sucking. He's barely able to do this.
He wasn't ex-military. He wasn't a former Navy SEAL. He wasn't a martial artist like Chuck Norris. He was a teacher.
Yeah. So, Carla, would you say the 80s were basically an Arnold Schwarzenegger sandwich, and that Indiana Jones and John McClane were the bread?
Yes. That's actually, well, I mean, Schwarzenegger, Stallone, Van Damme, the idea of the steroid guy.
Gary, your pick is up, sir.
All right, I'm going to go with, in the moment when I knew I was going to be a crazy movie junkie was when this movie came out, I hated it because it dethroned Star Wars as the box office champion. And I took that personal, it made me mad. And it took a long time before I would even give this movie a shot. But I know everyone loves it now, so I'm going to go with E.T.
Okay.
Nice.
Good pick. Yeah. What's funny is I actually couldn't stand E.T. when it first came out, and it wasn't until seeing it much later that I was like, oh, I really like it. And not that I'm shocked I liked it. Mike, you're up, bud.
And I wonder if you subconsciously don't like it for the same reasons Gary didn't like it when it first came out.
No, it's not even subconscious, because it was out. Correct me if I'm wrong. There was some overlap with Jedi in ET, right?
Yeah,
and I wanted to see Jedi again.
And they re-released ET 5 times.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to see Jedi again, and I got drugged to ET. So,
yeah,
ET for me was actually really funny because when I was a little kid, can't remember the age, but I saw it on video. Our family had rented it. And my younger brother, at the very end, I was crying at the end of the movie. My younger brother pointed and laughed at me. And it was such a scarring experience. I actually couldn't cry in a movie until I was in my 20s after that.
Wow.
I'm not kidding.
We need a cinematic therapy podcast to talk. When did movies hurt you?
I remember the first film I cried in. It was A League of Their Own.
That's it?
Yeah.
Which Carlo made a
tears.
reference to you in A League of Your Own. I sent him the photo of you prepping, and he said she's in A League of Her Own. So there you go, baby.
Yes.
Your pick is up, my love.
No, it's not. It's actually Mike's.
What did you pick?
I'm your love too, so that's
Oh, you're right.
Let's be honest.
I know.
Let's admit it. Let's call it what it is.
It's all good.
This is tough. I'm gonna have to flip a coin here because I've got the film that I think I like better, but it's not necessarily a crowd pleaser. But I'm gonna just do it. I'm gonna say Schindler's List.
Damn you,
Yeah.
Canadian bacon.
It's such an excellent film. It's just so amazing, and it breaks my heart. I've honestly only seen the movie twice in its entirety because I can't. I actually have watched it in parts millions of times. I have it on DVD, but it's just such an experience to watch. I'm never ready for that, and so that I think speaks to how much I think it's good. But it's not one that I've watched that many times.
What I think is interesting about where we're about to get in the draft is we're now about to get to a lot of movies that I think when we think about the 4 or 5 seminal Spielberg films, we sort of forget these movies were also him. And if anybody else had made these following movies, that would be their best film ever made outside of a few. And so I'm going to begin with probably my favorite science fiction movie, and I'm going to go with Minority Report. And then I get a back-to-back.
Science fiction at this point, it feels like almost reality, you know?
I know, right?
And I want to go with this is probably the one that I really love this movie, and it's going to be what loses the competition for me because I don't think a lot of people saw it. I love Munich so much. And
the movie,
what he did at the end with that last shot after we've just seen this whole thing, and the last shot being the Twin Towers when we're talking about terrorism. Just
love that movie. That was my next pick. I love that movie.
Well, it's my pick, so
yeah, but she gets half of it.
That's what you get for correct.
Half of it. That's good.
What did you say, Carlo?
I said that's what she gets for correcting you.
That's
you get
right. I should have just taken my
turn. Okay, so I guess that makes Mike up next.
Right. Okay, amazing. Cool. Well, then I'm going to say a movie that I adored and it's brand new is his West Side Story.
Wow.
My God, I love that movie. It was so good. It hasn't been doing that well at the box office, but I think that's only because of Spider-Man. And honestly, like, man, I thought it was great. I'm a huge fan of the original film and of the musical. I've seen it live a couple of times, and it's my favorite version of the story that I've ever seen. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I do think it's underperforming. I know Carlo and I talked about this a little bit a while back, but I really think it has a lot more to do with musicals always perform slow. And the target demographic for this movie is the kind of people that are not going out to the theaters yet. I think that it's going to win awards. I think it'll get its due.
Yeah.
Mr. Warren.
So I'm going to take, I believe it's a benefit of the rules of this show with only being able to have one film per franchise. So I'm going to grab Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Yeah, I was sort of hoping that one wouldn't get taken.
I knew like when you didn't pick it, I was like, well, Mike can't take it.
Yes.
If I was actually picking my top 3 picks, it would be the
Jess, what about you?
Okay, so this has got the lowest rating on IMDb's rating of my top Spielberg movies, but I love it so much. I think people enjoy watching it, and it's got our beloved Robin Williams. I'm going with Hook.
Yeah.
It's one that I think has maybe gotten more appreciation now. Like when I saw it, I didn't like it because I was too old for it. I had missed that demographic. Man. And in rewatching it, I definitely liked it better. Carlo, you have 2 in a row.
Oh, okay. Well, let me go with, I was sitting here, I was trying to keep it cool, but I was sitting there, please, Jessica, don't pick one. Don't pick the one that's in my mind. Don't pick it. But again, continuing with the, Spielberg can actually direct theme. And it's just a pet peeve of mine because people really are dismissive of them in today's social media climate.
Yep.
And Color Purple.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that movie,
great movie.
It took me I had to turn it off. I didn't get to see it in theaters. It was, for you kids out there, VHS was this thing. But I'd rented it, and I was watching it with my high school girlfriend at the time, and it got to a certain point where I had to stop. I can't watch anymore. Not because it was bad, it was just impacting me.
Has anyone on the call not seen it?
I have not seen it, actually.
It is it's a powerhouse film. The powerhouse performances. And Carlo, one of the things I love about the movie was the fact that he didn't want to direct it. He wanted it to be a black director. And Quincy Jones said, hey, you can't do that now. So channel what being a Jew means into how you direct the film to get those performances. And Oprah Winfrey and oh, so good.
Well, for the people who haven't seen the movie, Danny Glover is the most frightening person. I mean, Mr. Cuddly Lethal Weapon Dad, Danny Glover scared the shit out of me in that movie.
This is not Sergeant Murtaugh, everybody.
He was just plain straight up frightening.
Yeah.
And so when you watch it, be prepared because that ain't the Danny Glover that you probably would know.
It is as heavy as Schindler's. It's heavy, but also as well done. Okay, Carla, you get another one.
Okay. Well, I've done some heavy ones and I've got my list here. And you know what? I want to be contrary because it gets so much flack. So this is my rebel with the cause moment. I'm going to pick out of sheer ordinariness, 1941. Get to the back of the tank. That's for those of you who have seen the movie. Wait, have y'all seen it?
I have. I love it, actually.
I haven't seen it either.
Okay. I think it is much maligned. I don't know. Maybe it came out at a bad time because it is. It's ridiculed, but I had a blast watching it. I don't know what that says about me, but I like getting the wrong Hollywood. Like for when you watch it, you'll know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I thought it was fun.
It's a very fun movie. It's a very different movie. I will say, Gary and Mike, you have not seen it. Yes.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
You absolutely should before next week's trivia competition. See, Mike? Kaboom!
Just watch. I'm going to totally win.
I'm not saying you won't, but there's it's funny because it's his only bomb, right? It's the only movie that did not make money, right. And it's the movie between that and Close Encounters that why Lucas had to go get permission to let him direct Raiders, because he had now at that point he was never on time, he was never under budget, and one of his last two movies had tanked. And so think about that for a second, where Lucas
that's so weird.
Yeah. I promise to control Steven Spielberg. It's funny. Okay, Jessica.
I'm delayed. I'm super excited that this is still on the board. I'm going with Bridge of Spies. Great thriller movie. By the Coen brothers. Oh, really?
That's really good.
It's good.
That's a great pick because that's during Steven Spielberg's understated period, where it's a movie that people are surprised that he did. Like, wait, he did that?
And, I agree.
You go into Bridge of Spies thinking it's a spy movie and it's about an accountant, you know what I mean, or an insurance guy. But it's excellent. And you're right, Carlo. That same like that in like The Post, all these movies that were much more kind of just thoughtful, even than some of his other heavier work. Jessica, I believe you are. Nope, Gary, you're up.
I'm going to go. I'm sticking with the populist movies. These are the ones that make tons and tons of money, even if they're not my personal favorite. And I'm picking War of the Worlds.
Ooh, it's funny. I actually think this it was better than I remembered. I rewatched it.
I agree.
Yeah,
but it made a ton of money. Like it made so much money. So it's like people must love it.
Yeah, people loved it.
Did you like it, Mike?
Say they loved it. I didn't love it. I didn't dislike it really. For me, it was. I thought he directed it well, which is strange because he usually doesn't. But I thought overall, I've always sort of felt like that story, the way it sort of ends, was always anticlimactic.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just sort of like, yeah, that's the story. That's it.
Yeah. What I like about it, and I know again, like Carlo and I've talked about this before. Again, Carlo, you can weigh in, but it's one of those examples why I hate people talk about Tom Cruise as sort of like this prima donna who can't be directed, because if you look at his career, he always seeks out or partners with the best directors, and all of look at the people who directed all the Mission Impossibles. Those were not yes men. Those were not people. And I think like, him doing Minority Report and World of the Worlds, I felt like was a really good indicator of just what kind of person Tom Cruise is when it comes to like, I want to make a good movie.
I mean, he picked Kubrick to direct it. who is not an actor's director. He's not going to protect his feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And cost him his marriage.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting from a non-cinematic point of view about War of the Worlds is that came out during that time where all things of Tom Cruise's personal life were really blowing up. It was after the infamous couch. And but also one of the things that people sort of held a grudge against War of the Worlds is, again, not having to do with the movie, but Katie Holmes was on a talk show. And at that time, she was in Batman Begins, or around that time. And she was asked point blank, which movie should people go see, Batman Begins or War of the Worlds? And she said, I got to stick by my man, go see War of the Worlds. And the Batman fans online in the forums were like, what? Screw War of the Worlds. Yeah. And then, of course, it became a big hit. But still, there was that online backlash that I found was interesting.
I wonder what Maggie Gyllenhaal would have said.
No kidding. No kidding. But yeah, I completely agree with you. Okay, let's look at who's next. Mikey.
All right. My next pick is going to be a little more fun. I don't know what people think of this. I never talk about this movie with anybody, and no one ever talks about it, but I really enjoyed it. Is Catch Me If You Can.
I love it.
That was going to be my next pick. It was.
Yeah.
Well,
it was a good fun movie.
It's a good movie. But it's sort of just like happened. You know what I mean? Like no one says, "Oh, Catch Me If You Can" is great, and I don't even know that I've rewatched it. I saw it in theaters back when it came out.
Well,
I have a memory of really loving it.
To speak to how good a director Spielberg is, watch Christopher Walken in that movie. He is not Christopher. He's not, the more cowbell guy. He's actually acting for the first time in probably 15 years.
Yeah.
So I think that speaks to Spielberg.
So I have two in a row, and I'm going to go with Amistad, which, again, if you haven't seen it, incredibly powerful.
Really good.
The scene I always think of is remember Gary, where they have to get rid of ballast on the ship, so they connect the cannonball to 10 slaves' legs and throw it overboard, and you see them drag off. Like, it's awful. So I'm going to pick that. And then I don't really have a lot of cloud pleasers after Jaws. So I'm going to go with Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World.
Okay. Solid.
I think that's everyone's response to that movie too.
Yeah, none of y'all are surprised. Like, come on, it's Jeff Goldblum. Come on.
Was that a crowd pleaser though? Was the crowd pleased by that?
it made a lot of. It's a good movie.
Made a lot of money.
I'm just being a shit. No.
People will see the poster on. People will see the poster on the voting thing and be like, "Oh,
that's right. They will."
Sharks
Smart.
and dinosaurs.
Exactly.
It's my grandson's favorite. I've got my grandson's vote, so there you go. Mike, you're up.
All right, let's pick another modern Spielberg. Let's go with Ready Player One and pack all the nostalgia into one movie.
I love that movie.
I did
I did too.
It was great.
Yeah, I don't know why people, I never read the book. I know a lot of people that read the book hated the movie, but just seeing the movie by itself, I loved it.
Yeah,
I did too.
I knew nothing about the book at all, but I thoroughly enjoyed. I think I saw it twice in theaters. Like, I loved it.
No, I
stole my next pick.
Love it. Yeah, your next. No, it's Gary's next pick.
No, I said, but he stole my next pick.
Oh,
So.
Well, you've corrected your wife twice, man.
I know.
Tell her how great her background is.
Yeah.
the best part is we're about 20 feet away.
Yes.
Mr. Warren.
High five.
I'm going to go with Lincoln, which I thought was amazing because, Daniel Day-Lewis is just phenomenal. And watching that, you felt like he was Lincoln. But the movie in general, there's not a weak point to it. I love every single part of it. So Lincoln is my choice.
Absolutely. I also love what came out of that, which was the fake trailer of Daniel Day-Lewis playing a Barack Obama. Did anybody see that? And so at one point, you gotta find it. They did it for the correspondence dinner, I think. And so at one point, Barack Obama plays Daniel Day-Lewis playing him. He talks about how I don't even know how I'm supposed to act with these ears. It's actually very funny. And Spielberg's in it. Daniel Day-Lewis is in it.
Oh my gosh.
You've got to find
Sounds
it.
like fun.
For those of you watching, I'll put it in the description of this episode so you can have a chuckle. Okay, that means the next pick is Jess.
All righty. I'm going to go with The Post, which I know is maybe not everybody's favorite movie, but I enjoyed it when we saw it in the theaters. And I think it came out at a time when not a lot of other things were out that were good. And so I remember being like, finally, another good movie.
It was definitely high on our annual list that year. I do remember that.
Yeah. Again, it's another one that's a little heavy. I don't know if people just want to sit down and watch, but I enjoyed it.
Okay, so here's that famous sound, the famous buzzer sound. That means that Carlo has 2 back-to-back picks, and that will put us into our 6th and final regular round. So, Carlo, your 2 movies are?
Okay, well, oh God, a lot of the good ones are taken. But because I was sort of ticking them off here, but you know what? Let me go with one, just simply because I appreciated the visual palette and what I thought was kind of a bold ending that wasn't spoon-fed to us. And that's going to be AI, artificial. Most importantly, because in the wake of it, it was sort of the anti-Spielberg movie, and I got into so many arguments with people were like, and it's so cliche, and then it ends up that it was aliens all along. And I'm like, they weren't aliens. And so, they were advanced mechas. It was a very, very nice touch that I thought that he did well. And I love that they didn't have someone come out and explain it to us, but the clues were all there.
Yeah.
And so, but I thought that there was a richness to it. It reminded me almost of Blade Runner in that people went in thinking it was going to be a Star Wars like adventure, but it wasn't. And so I felt the same way after watching AI, and it's probably one of the more contentious films. People either love it or hate it, maybe. I don't know.
I'm definitely one that's not a fan because it's so Kubrick for me at times. And so, but that my mileage just kind of, again, varies with him. But yeah,
because I felt it wasn't Kubrick enough to be Kubrick, and it didn't feel Spielberg enough to be Spielberg, and I kind of just felt it didn't, too many masters kind of thing,
Right. It was probably a couple languages being cobbled together. It's kind of Latin becoming French. Yeah, you're just like but yeah, no, and like I said, it wasn't higher up on my list, but it's one of the ones where was certainly debated in the forums and online and all that sort of stuff. But I found it an interesting endeavor. But I think people were expecting something completely different than what we got. And so that's why I said it's probably because of the Kubrick aspect. It was sort of the anti-Spielberg. But I think you put it better. Not Spielberg enough for Spielberg, not Kubrick enough for that sort of thing.
But you have another one to pick.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's getting down to the wire where everyone's gotten, all the good ones. So I'm, you know what it is? You know what's going through my head right now? Don't say always. Don't say always. Don't say always.
I kind of hope no one
knows that one.
But because my biggest fear was ending up with either Always or The Terminal. Now I have to decide which one of those I would prefer. But you know what? No, fuck it. I'm going with Duel.
Okay.
That was one of my earliest, like when I saw it as a TV, and then I found out later that it was Spielberg. I'm like, it can't be Spielberg. It was on TV. Kid logic, right?
Yeah.
But I found it to be Dennis Weaver. I was like, that's friggin' McCloud, right? I mean, that was Dennis Weaver, right? In that.
Yeah.
It was just no expectations, blew me away.
All right, Jess.
Well, I'll be honest. Always is technically next on my list, but I feel like I've got the Spielberg Tom Hanks lot going into this, so I'm going to go with The Terminal.
Okay.
And that would make 4 out of my 6 picks Tom Hanks movies.
Gary.
All right, so I'm going to go with War Horse. I thought War Horse was a fine movie. I think it got a lot of hate for some reason. I thought it was fine.
I hated it.
Did you? Yeah, I was like, it was all right.
It's because they wrote the horse like a dog. The horse doesn't behave like a horse. It behaves like a dog. I have had some experience around horses. They don't behave like dogs.
Maybe it was what did you call those aliens and AI, Carlo? It's
Advanced.
Haters gonna hate, Gary, but yeah,
Maybe.
Jim hated that movie. It definitely tainted my opinion of it, the amount of hate that Jim had for it.
I walked out seething. I was like going to fight somebody coming out of the theater.
Yep.
Look, and here's the thing. I have yet to be able to finish it, so I don't know. I feel bad because I feel like I should give it a shot, because sometimes you just watch a movie when you're maybe in the wrong frame of mind.
Yeah.
And that's always a danger for me, because sometimes I react to a movie and I watch it again like a year later. I'm like, why did I react that way to that movie? And so maybe Warhorse is one of those, but I don't think I've got past the first 20 minutes as of yet.
It is rough. Okay. Mike?
We're actually at a point where I have not seen any of the rest of the movies on the list that I've got here. So I'm going to just throw a dart and let's go with the Sugarland Express.
Oh,
All
nice.
right.
Yeah.
a good one. You should check it out.
Yeah.
And I am going to take Always, Gary, because I actually did. I mean, did you not like the movie, Gary?
I thought it was okay. But it's become like one of those jokes of like, it's Spielberg's worst movie, even though it's not. But it became like just that like, always. So
I don't know. I thought Richard Dreyfuss, John Goodman, I'm in.
Yeah. Same.
Okay, so now we have one more round to go. And this round's different because you must draft a movie produced by Steven Spielberg, not directed, and the order is completely different. So the order goes, Carlo, you will have the first pick. Gary, you will be second. I will be third. Mike will be fourth. And Jess will be fifth. So, Carlo, which movie do you pick?
Okay, well, because I want to take this opportunity to champion a film that I really want everyone to see. And I don't know if anyone, it's kind of me being John Cusack from, High Fidelity, where I pick something really obscure. But I love this movie. I want to take this platform to tell people about it. And that is a 1980s film that Spielberg produced. It's an uncredited producer, and it's called Fandango. Has anyone seen that?
I love Fandango, yeah.
Okay, all right, okay.
Carlo, I saw it 3 years ago because you told me to, and it was fantastic.
Oh, it was good. Kevin Costner was just, and Judd Nelson, fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it, and people was just like blank stare.
No.
I'm like, Fandango.
Me neither, Mike.
I believe it's
platform. Yeah, it's just. Mike, have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
You should, young man.
And then go parachuting out of an airplane after you watch it.
Yeah, and drink tequila first too. I think, Carlo, that's actually Adam Hampton's favorite movie. Like, that is his full stop. That's his favorite movie. It's very good. And when you watch it, Mike, it's very Jim in a way. There's a lot of like kind of what we tried to do in our stuff too, the sort of at least emotional beats and things. Gary, you have this next pick. Do I have to guess?
No, I'd like to thank Carlo for taking Fandango. I thought for sure this one was going to get taken, so I will gladly take Back to the Future.
It was on my list.
I have a little list of what my picks might be, and I'd already typed your name beside that as if you'd taken it, just because I knew there was no chance.
I actually had already typed you into the minute Carlo asked me about Fandango earlier, I immediately copied and pasted it into your spot in the Excel doc. I was like, okay.
I had actually assumed that I would be picking Back to the Future too, because I was like,
all right, Mike.
All right.
No, wait a minute. No. It's me. It's me.
It's you.
Okay.
Oh, that makes it hard. Okay, I'm going to go against my first gut. I'm not going to pick Back to the Future 2. I'm going to pick The Goonies.
Yes.
Solid.
I'd actually predicted that.
I did too.
Did you really?
I could have seen that.
It was a question. I didn't
either, Carlo. I thought that was a given.
Carlo, only a question from strategy of the game, not from movies I like. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like strategy of the game was like, because there's a lot of hate for the Goonies for some reason. There's become this backlash against the movie, which I don't really get, but
I haven't heard that stuff.
Product of its time, I guess. I don't know, but maybe people are just like, oh, it's a ripoff of Stranger Things or something. I don't know.
Maybe. Okay, Mike, you are up.
All right. I think that what I'm going to do is pick a movie that he produced that isn't. It's for sort of strategy and trying to diversify my portfolio here. I'm going to go with Shrek.
Whoa!
I was kind of surprised that when I saw his name when I went through IMDb to double check. Yeah, I was surprised.
And now Jessica has, just off the top of my head, 3 amazing choices to pick from for the last pick.
But you probably know what I'm going to go with. My favorite horror movie of all time is Poltergeist. And I'm really grateful that none of y'all took it.
I thought for
it was
sure.
Actually, your favorite movie, period, wasn't it?
What?
Jessica, I thought that was your favorite movie, period, not just.
No.
It's top favorite horror movie, right?
It's high up there, but Singing in the Rain is always my top number one.
What's interesting about that, if we're following the legend of Poltergeist, technically you can't pick it because the legend is he actually directed it. He just couldn't be credited.
Right.
But we're letting it stand. It's about the credits, but because at the time you can't, in the guild, you couldn't have directed 2 movies at one time, and he was already doing E.T.
Right.
He was writing from set to set and getting on Toby Hooper's nerves. But
well, plus if you look at the career of Toby Hooper, Poltergeist does not fit in.
No.
Like it's
it does not.
Nothing.
No.
So.
And Poltergeist and E.T. are, I mean, if you think about it, the suburbs, the setting, they're eerily similar to, the cul-de-sac look and, the whole. So it's a legend I have no problem believing.
Yeah.
Well, that does wrap up our draft. And I think one of the cool things about all of this is I think that we've all, at least for the audience, Spielberg has definitely a wide variety of great work that people should be checking out. So what's going to happen next is we're going to put this up for a vote. We will be back shortly to reveal the winner. But I want to thank Jessica and Gary and Carlo and Mike for joining us on this episode.
Hey, thanks for having us on, man.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Great seeing you guys.
So that does wrap up the Cinema Showdown draft for our Spielberg films. Before we get to the winner, let's recap all of the different movies each of our players drafted. Jessica's Ready Player One squad drafted a lot of Tom Hanks. First of all, not the first time he was drafted, because she did pick Saving Private Ryan, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Hook, Bridge of Spies, Poltergeist, The Post, and The Terminal. Carlos Texas Ark Raiders took a headier approach to his Spielberg films, drafting Empire of the Sun, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, The Color Purple, AI, 1941, Duel, and Fandango. Gary's Isla Nubar Dinos drafted Back to the Future, E.T., Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Jurassic Park, War of the Worlds, Lincoln, and Warhorse. Mike's Phone Home team drafted Raiders of the Lost Ark, Schindler's List, Ready Player One, Shrek, The Sugarland Express, Catch Me If You Can, and West Side Story. Jim's Amity Tiger Sharks, took Jaws, Minority Report, The Goonies, The Lost World, Munich, Amistad, and Always, much to Gary's chagrin. Now, before we show you the winner, I wanted to go through the process of how we judge. Basically, we create graphics, just like you saw in the movie, but this time they're anonymous. They just say team 1, 2, all the way through 5, or however many teams are drafting. We then put them on a variety of social media platforms. They're sent to the festival's email network to get the widest possible range of votes, but this way the votes are also anonymous, so no one really knows who they're voting for. So, without further ado, here's the winner of our Spielberg Challenge.
I'd like to thank everybody for voting for my team, the Isla Nubar Dinos, to win this Spielberg Cinema Showdown. Honestly, all of Spielberg's movies are great. So 4 of us had a great shot of winning, just not Carlo, who voted with his heart and not his head. That being said, I'd like to thank Carlo for picking Fandango, allowing me Back to the Future, which I'm sure put me over the top. Thank you to Steven Spielberg, to Jim, Mike, Jessica, and Carlo, and of course, thank you to everyone who voted for me. It's an honor and a privilege. God bless.
Wow, Gary C. Warren announcing his presence with some sass and some authority. Gary learned a lot since our Christmas draft where, let's just say, the way his voting turned out, he got lumps of coal instead of actual votes. So he definitely adapted to the game. I have no doubt in my mind that Carlo will adapt and adapt fast because that's what that guy does. We're going to be back in February. It's Valentine's Day, so we'll be drafting some of our favorite romantic comedies. So keep an eye out for that. Take care. See you next time.